Have you ever left something precious behind, only to return and find it changed beyond recognition? Sometimes the greatest distances are not measured in roads traveled, but in hearts grown apart. This is a story about a mother who learned that love cannot be carried in a cart. It must be planted, tended, and grown. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support truly means a lot. Kira walked the familiar road to her village as autumn leaves fell around her. Her cart creaked under the weight of silk pouches filled with cinnamon, saffron, and cardamom from distant markets. She had traveled 5 years across mountains and through foreign towns, sending coins home but never returning. Now the road curved toward the cluster of cottages she had left behind, and her heart beat faster with each step. She found her daughter in the village square. The girl was 9 now, tall and lean, helping an older woman hang washing on a line. Kira stopped at the edge of the square and whispered her daughter's name. The girl turned, her eyes blank and cautious. She did not run forward. She did not smile. She looked at Kira the way one looks at a stranger selling wares at market. Kira opened her cart and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside were candied ginger and honey sweets wrapped in paper. She held it toward her daughter, her hands trembling. The girl glanced at the older woman, the neighbor who had raised her, and only when the woman nodded did the girl step forward. She took the box without meeting Kira's eyes and retreated quickly to the safety of the familiar skirts. That night, Kira stayed in her old cottage. Dust covered the table where she used to knead bread. The hearth was cold. She unpacked her cart and placed her treasures on the wooden shelf: jars of spices, bolts of cloth, small carved figures from faraway workshops. Each object had a story, a memory of the roads she had walked, but they were her stories, not her daughter's. The next morning, Kira brought a length of blue silk to the neighbor's house. She found her daughter sitting on the doorstep, weaving grass into small braids. Kira sat down nearby, not too close, and began to work with the silk, folding it into the shape of a bird. Her fingers moved slowly, deliberately. The girl watched from the corner of her eye but said nothing. Kira returned the following day with nothing in her hands. She sat on the same step and simply watched her daughter play. The girl built a small house from sticks and stones. Kira did not speak. She did not offer gifts. She only remained, as steady as the oak tree in the square. Days passed like this. Kira came each morning and sat nearby. Sometimes she brought small things: a smooth river stone, a feather, a piece of honeycomb. She placed them on the step between herself and her daughter like offerings at a shrine. The girl began to glance at these objects with curiosity, though she still did not speak to Kira. One afternoon, Kira noticed a sparrow's nest that had fallen from the roof. The nest lay broken on the ground, 3 speckled eggs shattered beside it. Her daughter stood over the wreckage, her small hands clenched. Kira knelt down and began to gather soft moss and twigs. She wove them together carefully, shaping a new nest with patient hands. Her daughter watched, then slowly knelt beside her and handed her a tuft of sheep's wool from the yard. They worked in silence. When the nest was finished, Kira climbed onto a stool and placed it back in the crook of the roof. Her daughter steadied the stool without being asked. It was the first time they had touched, a small hand gripping the wooden leg to keep it from wobbling. The seasons began to shift. The autumn air grew sharper and the first frost appeared on the morning grass. Kira's spices remained untouched on her cottage shelf. She no longer traveled to market. She no longer spoke of distant roads. Instead, she learned the rhythms of her daughter's days: the hour she woke, the corner of the yard where she liked to play, the songs the neighbor woman sang at bedtime. One morning, Kira's daughter brought her a small cloth doll. It was crudely stitched, the face uneven, the arms of different lengths. She placed it on the step beside Kira without a word. Kira picked it up and held it as if it were made of glass. She understood. This was her daughter's offering in return. Winter came, and the village grew quiet under snow. Kira's cart sat unused beside her cottage, its wheels half buried in white drifts. She spent her days chopping wood and carrying water, tasks she had once left to others. Her hands, which had held rare silks and fragrant spices, now grew rough with ordinary work. Her daughter began to sit closer, first an arm's length away, then near enough that their shoulders almost touched. One evening, as the sun set red behind the hills, the girl leaned her head against Kira's shoulder for just a moment before pulling away. Kira did not move. She barely breathed. She let the moment exist without grasping at it. Spring arrived, and with it the first wildflowers. Kira and her daughter walked to the edge of the forest to gather blossoms for the neighbor woman's table. They moved side by side, their baskets swinging in rhythm. The girl pointed to a cluster of white flowers, and Kira nodded. They picked them together, their hands brushing in the leaves. On the walk home, the girl spoke her first words to Kira. She asked what the flowers were called. Kira's voice caught in her throat, but she answered softly, giving the name her own mother had taught her. The girl repeated it, testing the word on her tongue. Then she asked another question, and another, small questions about small things, the names of birds, the taste of honey, the way clouds moved. That evening, Kira sat alone in her cottage. The jars of spices still lined the shelf, untouched and fading. She realized they had lost their scent. The cinnamon no longer smelled of distant markets. The saffron had turned dull. These things, which had once seemed so precious, had no power here. They could not buy back time. They could not replace presence. She took the jars outside and buried them in the garden, one by one. In their place, she would plant seeds, carrots and beans and herbs that would grow slowly, season by season, things that required her to stay, to tend, to wait. Months passed, and the garden grew green. Kira's daughter came to help water the seedlings each morning. She no longer called the neighbor woman Mama, but she did not yet call Kira that name either. She simply called her by her name, Kira, and that was enough. One evening, as fireflies appeared in the dusky air, Kira's daughter reached for her hand. They stood together in the garden, watching the lights drift and blink among the growing plants. The girl's hand was small and warm in Kira's palm. No words were spoken. The silence between them had changed, no longer empty, but full. Kira understood then what she had not known before. Love was not the treasures she had gathered from far away. Love was not in the stories of distant lands or the gifts she could bring home. Love was the nest rebuilt with patient hands. Love was the step she returned to each morning. Love was the slow, silent growing of trust, like seeds becoming roots, becoming something strong enough to hold. Some things cannot be bought or carried home in a cart. Some things must be grown slowly, with patience and presence. A mother's love is not just in what she gives, but in where she chooses to stay. The greatest gift we can offer those we love is not treasure from distant places, but our time, our hands, and our faithful return, day after day. What would you do in their place? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.